We are back with our debate with the candidates of the 11th Congressional District here at WHP 580. I just do want to remind you that in the 5 o'clock hour, I will be joined by political commentator Charlie Giroux and Charlie Greenewald. We will talk about what went on in the first two debates today. That's 5 to 6 p.m. Now, back to Bill.
All right, RJ, thank you very much. We've been dealing with Medicare. Let's move to the President's health care initiative. Was obviously upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court this past summer. Should it be left alone, overturned? If you want it overturned, what should be put in its place, if anything? And we'll start with Gene Still.
Yes, I think I've spoken often on this. The key thing is that I believe that we have to have components here. I've broken it down into the following components. We have to preserve the ability to have pre-existing conditions covered. We have to have the ability to keep our children on the plan until age 26. We have to make sure that women are covered. Women are covered. Why? Because women have not been, they've been discriminating against on insurance policies. We have to make sure that they are covered on the plan, and they continue to be covered. We have to make sure that we have preventative health care. This goes right to the cost of lowering health care, making sure our health care is lowered by preventative medicine. If you have a symptom, you take care of a symptom early, then you don't have the 100 times the cost of taking care of it when it's full blown. Next, we have to make sure that we have to keep the donut hole closed for our seniors. Medicare was served by taking care of the donut hole, saving $688 million on the donut hole closing on prescription drugs. What I want to take a look at, no bill is perfect when it's passed. What I want to take a look at in Congress is looking toward the middle and taking a bit of the burden off of our small businesses, which carry a large burden. Every bill has to be adjusted. Every act has to be adjusted. So I want to go back in there, working with the middle of the Congress, like as I said before, to see what we can do to shift these burdens to the much larger businesses who are not paying their fair share. Small businesses are hurt enough. We have to make sure that it is shifted to the larger businesses and make sure that these corporations pay their fair share. And the other thing too is that we have to work to keep our families safe. Everything you do in the Affordable Care Act helps people lower their health care costs, and therefore cuts health care costs across the board for our families.
Okay, Luca Barletta.
Well, I voted to repeal government takeover of health care or Obamacare 33 times. I voted to defund it, repeal, and replace it. I know Gene has said that he supports the Affordable Care Act. It takes $716 billion out of Medicare. So if we want to help seniors, I don't know how taking $716 billion out of Medicare will do it. 800,000 jobs will be lost. And that's by Congressional Budget Office. 3 million Americans will lose their insurance. The premium increase, again, this is by the Congressional Budget Office, will increase. Your health care premium will increase by $2,400. There'll be $20 billion taxes on medical devices, artificial joints, pacemakers, even bedpans in the hospital will now be taxed. We need to replace it with something that makes sense, that will make healthcare more affordable, and then it'll be more accessible. I support allowing people to shop across state lines, to allow competition to drive down the price. I support allowing small businesses to pull together so that they can get a better rate. I support allowing our children to be on until they're 26, and I also support high-risk pools that will cover pre-existing conditions. We also need to look at medical liability reform to find ways to keep the costs down. But I am absolutely against the government taking over our health care.
I am for making sure we have better ways of lowering the cost of health care. Not me, but the National Institute of Medicine had a multidimensional study with all the major many major hospital groups across the country. What they found out is that hospitals medical care can be lowered by $750 billion. The Congress has to take that and implement that. There was $210 billion of unnecessary procedures, $190 billion of unnecessary administrative costs, $130 billion of inefficient procedures, $55 billion of not using preventive medicine, $75 billion worth of fraud. This adds up to $750 billion that the Congress could implement, not only our regular hospitals, but also our Veterans Administration hospitals. These things the Congress could do the best by implementing these suggestions by the private hospitals We really have to take what they're saying and put it into effect. Now, he's voted against it. I'm in favor of many of the provisions, but the key thing is here. It's not 700 or so billion dollars. Those cuts to Medicare, etc., are basically the cuts that are being paid to, that were overpaid to providers. We have to make sure that providers are paid correctly, but not overpaid, and that's where that money's coming from in the Affordable Care Act. We have to make sure. I mean, just closing the donor hole itself saves hundreds of millions of dollars. Otherwise, if you don't have this, you seniors out there are going to again be paying your prescription costs to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. So what I want to do is make sure that we start with where we're at now and move forward. When Medicare was first to start, when Social Security was first started, and when other, like the GI Bill were first started, all democratic ideas, etc., they weren't perfect, but they had to be adjusted by future legislation. Let's get together, let's work in the middle of Congress to make sure we don't lose this coverage for working families across the country. Let's stay away from the extremes. Let's stay away from the Ryan budget. Let's stay away from anything extreme that the other party's offering. Work in the middle for compromise. Let's get Congress moving.
Gene, that's how we got into this problem, because Congress stayed away from everything, and now we're faced with the fiscal cliff.
I haven't been in Congress, Lou. You've been in Congress, not me.
You want to continue in the policies that got us into this mess by doing nothing, continuing on the course we're going. And Gene, you were wrong. It does take $716 billion out of Medicare. It will cut Medicare Advantage that 900,000 Pennsylvania seniors count on. What kind of health care plan would do that? It puts 15 unelected bureaucrats who will be making health care decisions for us, putting them between you and your doctor. 21 new taxes. You said you were for businesses. 21 new taxes. 13,000 pages of new regulations. Businesses already said they're going to drop their health care coverage for their employees because it is cheaper to pay the tax, the fine, than it is to pay for the cost of the insurance.
This is exactly why I said adjustments have to be made. And also, the purpose of the independent board, by the way, isn't to act on their own. The purpose of the independent board is to find ways to cut health care by finding ways that hospitals and doctors, etc., can go in earlier and make procedures better. The earlier the intervention, and the more you can strengthen early intervention, the lower the costs are. Early intervention is the key. Whether you're seniors, whether you're regular healthcare provider, whether your family's the first time you find anything, the sooner you find something, the lower cost is. I've cited $750 billion that the private hospitals, private hospital corporations have analyzed. Not me, Geisinger's among those. So I want to take what Geisinger says and implement that. I think that, by the way, just to a point of order here, we have, I think, a short time left, and we haven't even got into the new formation of the 11th Congressional District or one of the